Hey folks, Joe here. Welcome to the second installment of our little series. And as I mentioned in the last video, today we are going to start digging into the very first of the three critical questions, which is, if you remember, what's worth doing? Okay? What's worth our time? What's worth our investment? What's worth pursuing for the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month, the next 6 months, the next year, okay, in some cases of our lives. The first part of figuring out what is really worth doing is asking the question, okay, what is actually worth the organization's investment in this? Okay, whether you're working for a client or whether you're working in-house for a company, the first question to ask is, what's worth the time and money that we're going to sink into this? Okay, is the outcome, is what we expect users to do and what we expect to come back to us as a result, right, in terms of value, is that worth this major task we're about to undertake? Okay, and then that cost is wrapped up in, people's time. Obviously, you've got a team of designers and developers and QA testers and product owners and project managers and everybody else. Okay, you're certainly spending money that way. But in a lot of cases, there are investments that get made in technology as well, okay? In software, in platforms, in plugins, in modules, in all sorts of things. All right, so that's the first question. What's worth the organization's investment in what's about to happen? The second question is, for you, what's worth your time, okay, and your investment? Again, whether you're working for an organization and you're part of a larger team, or whether you work for yourself and you work for clients, and maybe you do have one or two developers or additional folks helping you, the question is still the same. Okay, value is tied to you as well. Even though your job is to serve the client, you have to make sure that this is worth your doing as well. Because if it doesn't end well, okay, if it doesn't deliver value to the client in some meaningful way, guess what? It's not going to be valuable for you either, because they're going to be unhappy. And they're probably, inadvertently in some cases, going to point fingers. And that finger is usually going to be pointed at you if you did the work, right? We did all this stuff and nothing happened. Nothing changed. We still have the same problems we started with, okay? That's a good reason to ask this question up front of yourself as well as of the client, okay? So that's the second thing. The third thing is, of the things that we think we're going to do here, what can we actually accomplish in the bounds of reality, right? In terms of tasks, in terms of outcomes, in terms of people's skill sets, okay? Do we have the right people? Are we going to need to hire other people? Are we going to need to ramp them up to get them familiar with all this? Okay, what can we really accomplish if we have X amount of time to do it in? You have to be ruthless about answering that question, okay? Because anything that you think you can't accomplish, as you'll see in later videos, can get you into a lot of trouble. All right? Past those three questions, the first sort of area that you have to explore is the idea of delivering value. Okay, and the word that usually gets thrown around when we talk about value is innovation. Okay, we talk about innovative products. What does that really mean? Well, what it means is not that you've created something that's so earth-shattering no one's ever seen it before. That's not the sole definition of innovation. What innovation really is providing something that is so useful that it sort of acts like an answer to a prayer. Okay? People think to themselves, I can't understand how I ever lived my life without this. Okay? Whether you're talking about business-to-business users or consumers. Okay, so the idea of innovation and achieving innovation in terms of, right, creating value is a balancing act. And it's not an easy balancing act, okay? In the center of the equation, we have innovation, right? This idea of innovation. And quite frankly, it's a little bit unstable, okay? As you can see, it's sort of a precarious balance, an upside down triangle balanced on the tip, and it's sort of wobbling a little bit, and there's really nothing to keep it stable. The way that you get to stability, the way that you shore up that idea of innovation, the way that you get certain about whether you can or cannot deliver innovation, okay, is by first exploring feasibility, right, which we touched already. Can we actually do this? It's a great idea. Everybody agrees it's a great idea. We have a pretty good handle on what it's going to take in terms of design effort and coding effort, middle tier logic, database work, et cetera, et cetera. We're getting there, but is there enough time? Okay, is there enough budget to do all this? Can we realistically get there in the 3 weeks that we've been allotted? Or are we really probably going to have about half of this stuff still sitting on the backlog? You got to be honest, okay? That's the first part. After you get sort of one side shored up with feasibility, the next thing you need to think about is what's called viability. And essentially what that means is, okay, great. We do this. We design it, we build it, we code it, we test it, and everything works out great, and we launch it. Can we sustain it? Okay, meaning, can we support it if people have problems? Are we equipped to support their efforts after the fact? And more importantly, can we, in incremental releases, continue over time to deliver value? Okay, that's something I talk about in depth in the book as well. It's called The Long Wow. A guy named Brandon Shower wrote a brilliant article called The Long Wow, and it's a great concept. What it essentially means is that after a product comes out, your job becomes to keep delivering incremental value with each release. Okay, we live in a world where software is updated regularly, right? We look forward to those releases. And what happens when the next release or the next 3 releases really don't provide anything remarkable, and there's lots of other choices for us on the horizon in terms of what we could use, okay? Value in our eyes decreases. So viability is a big part of that. What are we going to do for the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year? How are we going to continuously release updates and upgrades, new features, new functions, increased security, increased stability, whatever it is? Can we do that? Can we see that far ahead, and do we have at least a clear picture of what it's going to take to do that? Okay, that's viability. In order to cement all this, okay, and keep the idea of innovation safe, in order to firm up our ability to deliver on this promise, the critical key is desirability, which is essentially asking this question: does anybody really want this? And if they do, how badly do they want it? Okay? Do people want it? I cannot even explain to you how many times over the last 26 years I've been asked to talk to organizations or been part of teams where nobody really had a clear picture of whether anybody wanted this. They would say, okay, well, we tested this concept with a group of 6 people. Okay, 6 people out of 12,000 current customers and a prospective customer pool of roughly 26,000 people. Okay, 6 people out of that pool tells you absolutely nothing. Okay, you don't know anything. You may think you know something, but that's not enough evidence to say, oh yeah, people want this. They absolutely want it. They've been begging for this. They've been crying for it, whatever. Now, if you talk to your salespeople, okay, in a B2B situation, or if you talk to your support teams and they tell you what people are repeatedly complaining about, by a tune of like 75% of our entire 30,000 customer base is complaining about this one thing. Well, okay, now you got something to hang your hat on. If your solution addresses that, that's innovation too, okay? Remember what I said. Innovation is creating something that is essentially the answer to a prayer. That is your task. All right? I'm going to stop there. I'm going to leave you with this. I want you to give it some thought. I want you to try and apply this triangle, this idea of an innovative balancing act to whatever you're working on right now. Okay? Run it through the test. Think about these things, and drop me a line and let me know where you wind up, okay? So we will be back with you with another installment where we will follow up and firm up and finish up on what's worth doing. And in the meantime, I invite you once again to visit getgoodux.com for articles, tips, and advice, and I invite you to learn more about my new book, Think First, which is all about my particular personal roadmap for creating successful products, happy customers, and great user experiences. Until next time, give good UX.